When the opportunity came up for a job on the night shift at a 24-hour grocery store, I jumped at it. The pay was decent, and the hours were strangely appealing. Quiet, low stress. I figured it would be easy work, just stocking shelves, cleaning up, and keeping an eye on the place. Little did I know that my first week there would take a sharp turn into something I still can't fully explain. It was my third night on the job when I was asked to review the security footage. The store manager, a guy named Greg, told me it was standard procedure for the night shift workers to check the footage every few nights, just to make sure there was nothing out of the ordinary. It sounded easy enough, so I didn't think much of it. The security room was a small, cramped space in the back of the store. A wall of monitors showed the live feeds from the various cameras set up throughout the aisles, parking lot, and break room. It was a little eerie being back there alone, but I brushed it off. The screens flickered in front of me as I settled in, rewinding the footage from earlier in the week. At first, it was exactly what I expected. Customers wandering through the aisles, employees stocking shelves, the usual late-night shoppers coming and going. But after about an hour of skimming through the footage, something caught my eye. It was subtle, but it didn't feel right. One of the cameras positioned near the back of the store by the cleaning supplies aisle showed a customer walking toward the shelves. He seemed normal enough, a guy in his 40s with a baseball cap pushing a cart. But then, just as he turned the corner to grab something off the shelf, he vanished, not in the walked out of frame kind of way, but literally disappeared. I paused the footage and rewound it, thinking I must have missed something. But no, there it was again. 1 second, he's there, and the next, gone. I checked the adjacent cameras, hoping to catch him from a different angle, but he wasn't there either. It was like he had just evaporated into thin air. A chill ran down my spine, but I shrugged it off, telling myself it was probably just a glitch in the system. Old footage, maybe a corrupted file or something. I continued reviewing the tapes, trying to shake the unease that had settled in, but it didn't stop. As I went through the rest of the footage, I started noticing more strange things. In one clip, a woman walked down the cereal aisle, followed by a dark, shadowy figure. At first, I thought it might have been another customer, but the figure didn't move like a person. It was off. It didn't have a distinct shape, more like a mass of darkness trailing behind her. The woman didn't seem to notice it at all. Then there was the footage of the employees. I watched as one of my coworkers, Lisa, walked into the back room with a blank expression on her face. She stood there for a moment, staring at the wall like she was in a trance. Her movements were slow, almost robotic, as she began stocking shelves. I'd worked with Lisa a few times, and she was always upbeat and friendly. But in this footage, it was like she wasn't herself. Her eyes were glazed over, and her face was pale, as if something had taken over her body. As the night went on, the footage got even stranger. One clip showed a cart moving on its own, rolling down an aisle without anyone near it. Another showed the lights flickering in one of the aisles, but when I checked the live feed, everything seemed normal. And then there were the whispers. I couldn't hear them directly from the footage, but in the silence of the security room, I swore I could hear faint voices coming from somewhere deep in the store. It wasn't long before I started noticing things happening in real time, not just in the footage. While doing my rounds, I'd see things out of the corner of my eye, shadows moving across the aisles, faint figures that disappeared when I turned to look. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. It was late, I was tired, and this store was huge. But then, things started happening that I couldn't explain. One night, while I was restocking the canned goods aisle, I heard a crash behind me. I turned around to find an entire row of shelves had been knocked over, cans scattered everywhere. But the store was empty. There was no one around who could have done it. I checked the cameras, and sure enough, the footage showed the cans just falling. No one touched them. They just fell all at once. Then there was my reflection. I was reviewing more footage one night, already on edge from everything I'd seen, when something strange caught my attention. One of the cameras positioned in the produce section showed me walking past with my cart, doing a sweep of the store. But when I looked closer, I noticed something was off about my reflection in the glass doors of the freezer aisle. It wasn't doing what I was doing. In the footage, I was walking forward, but my reflection was standing still, watching me as I passed by. I paused the footage and stared at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. But the longer I stared, the more unsettling it became. My reflection seemed almost alive, like it was aware of me watching it. That was when I decided to confront Greg about it. I showed him some of the footage, the disappearing customers, the strange shadows, the cart moving on its own, but he just laughed it off, saying the cameras were old and prone to glitches. You'd be surprised how much weird stuff shows up on security footage, he told me, brushing it off like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. The next night, things escalated. I was working alone again, doing my usual rounds, when I noticed something on the live feed. One of the cameras near the cleaning supplies aisle, where I'd first seen that customer disappear, was showing a figure standing completely still in the middle of the aisle. It was dark, almost featureless, just like the shadows I'd seen in the footage before. But this time, it wasn't just following someone. It was staring directly into the camera. My heart pounded in my chest as I switched to the next camera, hoping to see it from a different angle. But as soon as I switched, the figure was there too, standing in the exact same spot facing the camera. Every camera I switched to, it was there, waiting for me. I rushed out of the security room, determined to find out what was going on. The store was quiet, too quiet. I walked through the aisles, my flashlight cutting through the darkness, but there was no sign of anyone. No shadows, no figures, nothing. Then, just as I was about to turn back, I heard it. A voice, whispering from somewhere deep within the store. I couldn't make out what it was saying, but it sent a chill down my spine. I turned the corner and froze. Standing in the aisle, bathed in the dim glow of the store lights, was me. Or at least, it looked like me. My reflection, the same one I'd seen in the footage, was standing there, staring at me with that same blank expression. Its eyes were empty, lifeless. I wanted to run, to scream, but I couldn't move. My body felt heavy, like I was trapped in a nightmare. The figure took a step toward me, its movement slow and deliberate. It raised a hand, reaching out as if to grab me. I stumbled back, my heart racing, but my legs refused to work. I was frozen in place, helpless, as the figure came closer and closer. And then, just as it was about to touch me, everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor of the security room, the monitors flickering in front of me. My head throbbed, and my hands were shaking. I glanced at the screens, expecting to see the figure again, but everything was normal. The store looked exactly as it always had. But I knew better. I quit the next day. I never told Greg what I saw, never showed him the footage. I don't think he would have believed me anyway. But I know what happened. I know what I saw, and I can still feel that thing watching me, waiting for me every time I close my eyes. I don't work the night shift anymore. And I don't think I'll ever set foot in that store again.